Hello guys, welcome to Gunnervlog. Today I'm going to be talking about someone I've been absolutely itching to talk about for a few days now, and that is Paris Saint-Germain's Julian Draxler. About a week or so ago, stories emerged that Draxler might be available on the transfer market, I guess as a consequence of the PSG deal to sign Neymar. I didn't pay much heed to that then, but stories today suggest PSG are also going to bring in Kylian Mbappe, and potentially Fabinho too. They will need to let players go. It looks like Lucas Moura might go to Monaco as part of that deal. There's some talk about Di Maria going to Barcelona, but this could mean that Draxler could be available. He didn't start PSG's last league game, and I think with Mbappe and Neymar both operating in that kind of left-sided forward role, there is a chance he could come back onto the market. And he's a player that Arsene Wenger has barely disguised his admiration for. A bit like Mbappe, every opportunity to talk about exciting young players in Europe, Draxler always comes up. He tracked him for a long time. Even when he was at Wolfsburg, he looked at bringing him in, but the timing wasn't necessarily right. The amount of money wasn't necessarily right. Arsenal didn't go ahead with it. But I think there is a really good case that this could be a good time for us to push ahead and finalise that interest in Draxler. I know he hasn't necessarily exploded in the way that we might imagine, but I think Arsene Wenger, when he believes in a player, when he has faith in a player, he does tend to go back for them. He does tend to keep one eye on them. I mean, think of Thierry Henry. He didn't really work out at Juventus, but Arsene Wenger always admired him from when he was a teenager, brought him to Arsenal, and the rest is history. And Draxler was a relative success at Paris Saint-Germain last year, so I don't think he's done enough really to exclude himself from Wenger's thoughts. So why does it make sense? Well, a couple of reasons. First is, if Arsene Wenger is considering going back to a 4-2-3-1, and I think there are some signs that maybe that is the case. He switched to a back four against Leicester. He switched to a back four against Stoke. And we don't know how wedded he is to the three-at-back system in the long term. I think if we get a couple more poor results, he might take that as an excuse to go back to a back four. That means he might have room for an extra player behind the striker. In the three-at-the-back system, we've got one forward, probably Lacazette or Giroud, and then two players off him. You know that's going to be Alexis or Ozil. If we go to 4-2-3-1, suddenly it opens up the possibility of a third withdrawn forward behind the striker. Imagine, if you will, Lacazette with three men behind him, Sanchez, Ozil and Draxler. It's not a bad combination. And Ozil and Draxler, good friends from the international setup. There's a lot of mutual admiration there. I'm sure they'd absolutely love to play together. Who knows? Maybe even Draxler's arrival might help persuade Ozil to sign a new deal. On the subject of new deals, I guess you get onto the second reason that I think Draxler could make sense. I know that if we stick with the current system, it's sort of a 3-2 situation. If we stick with the current formation, three at the back, and Lacazette is going to play up top, you've got to get two from Draxler, Ozil and Sanchez into those roles just behind the striker. Do you know what? I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think we need more competition in those areas. Look at Manchester United. They've got a guy like Anthony Martial, a huge signing, available on the bench, coming off the bench, making the difference in games for them already this season. There's competition for places. Look at Chelsea. If Willian and Pedro are both fit, and Eden Hazard, one of them is not going to play. And yet, that seems to be good for the squad. It's healthy. And it gives options, and it means there's rotation available too. And I think with the Europa League, the Thursday-Sunday schedule, that's something you have to consider. The other thing I would say is, if Alexis and Ozil aren't going to sign new contracts, maybe there's a question mark over their motivation this season. What's a way to motivate them? To give them a bit of competition, to ensure that they're not an automatic choice every single week. It means they won't rest on their laurels. It means they have to perform. Adding Draxler to the mix suddenly creates an intense competition for places in that part of the pitch. Maybe that's a bit unrealistic, but I just think if you're not sure about Ozil's commitment, if you're not sure about Alexis' commitment, throw Draxler in there. Suddenly, if they want to play week in, week out, if they want to keep their market value high, they've got to compete with Draxler, and if he does better than them and he starts ahead, so be it, because if we can get him, he's a long-term solution in that area where we are going to need reinforcements sooner rather than later. Sooner rather than later, we will have to replace Alexis. Maybe Draxler has the potential to do that. So, I know we need a centre-half potentially, I know we need a central midfielder, but knowing Arsene Wenger as I do, if the opportunity to sign a supporting forward comes up, he rarely resists it. And Draxler, I think, would be more productive than Iwobi, more productive than Welbeck, more productive in the new formation than Walcott, probably in the old formation than Walcott. I think I'd rather see an Arsenal team with Draxler, for example, driving in from that right flank or switching wings with Alexis than I would with Walcott in there. If he's on the market, we should be heavily interested in him. Do I have confidence that will happen? No, I'm not sure how much more business on the incoming front we're going to do. But if Draxler is an option, surely Arsene Wenger and his team are looking at that. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Do subscribe. More videos coming soon. Cheers. Get me Draxler.